Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to go over oil. We're going to look at oil and natural gas, look at some of the companies in those sectors, look at the charts. Again, I'm a huge oil and natural gas bull. They're printing money. They're just flinging this stuff everywhere. Oil is a very good, inflation is in the price of oil. So if we have inflation, the price of oil is going higher. And then supply-demand balance is going to push higher as well, I think, over next year. So a lot of this revaluation in oil that's occurring is from the devaluation of the dollar and currencies worldwide. But the dollar's the most important one because that's what oil is being priced in. So let's dive into the charts, give you my financial opinion, let the charts do the talking. Here we go. So I'm going to start with West Texas Intermediate Crude, big picture view, big old descending wedge pattern. Diving into the pattern, we're looking at this breakout here. We broke to the upside of the big old pattern, and we came back and did a retest. And what we did is we came in and we bounced off of the support line. Right here would have been a decent time to add a little bit in, and we shot higher all the way to almost 80 bucks. We have this pattern here, and when it's tilted downward like it is, usually that is a continuation pattern to the upside. The Mr. Biden with the SPR, Strategic Petroleum Release, tried to push it lower, tried to do a stick save, and obviously they've got insiders who know how to read charts. And they were looking at this going, we need to push it down immediately, Mr. President. And he's like, let's release 50 million barrels out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. But that didn't do anything because the inflation is stronger than the reserves that he can release. And we're going to see this continue higher, I think, over time. So we had a nice, good move today. High five, go oil. SM Energy, looking at SM. Boy, does it look good. Let's strengthen these lines up real quick here. We got to do that. Nice, good move here. Reverse head and shoulders popped up higher. There's our descending wedge on top of this bad boy. I just want to zoom out real quick, see if there's any, there's some patterns maybe in here. You know, we might have, just looking across here. And what I'm seeing, just to show you guys what potentially could happen, is a shoulder, head. And then we might get a little shoulder here. Maybe, I don't know. And there's your shoulder that is developing right here. Actually, let me see if that's, yeah, that is the shoulder portion. So here's the head, and then the shoulder could be this guy here, or we're developing it. Looking over on the right-hand side, what we do here, we've got a support line coming through here. 1, 2, 3, descending wedge, usually breaks to the upside. They tried doing the Strategic Petroleum stick save. I don't think this is going to work. It's going to continue to boil on up and move on higher. Where does this thing look like it's going to end up going? Guys, I don't know. It looks like it's going to go up massively. That's my opinion. And if this is a reverse head and shoulders that's developing here, and it breaks, the projected move is, I don't know, $200 or $300 a share. I don't even know. But you know what? I'm going to hold on to it. Definitely not getting rid of my shares. So I'm holding on to it. CDEV. Here's CDEV in its reverse head and shoulders pattern. No way. They're all putting up reverse head and shoulders. Shoulder, head, shoulder, and the moonshot that's about to come will probably be pretty soon. Zooming in on this. We've got shoulder, head, shoulder, inverted head and shoulders. Coming on up. Descending wedge, breaking to the upside. This could be a shoulder, head, shoulder maybe. We just completed the move to the downside. And let's get cooking. Do we have... Yeah, it looks like we're having a little downtrend break too. Downtrend line break. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that, you know, maybe we could do a little pattern here. I'm going to delete that out. But it's a downtrend line. CDEV's looking great on a big long-term perspective, guys. This thing looks absolutely fantastic for a move higher. I'm doing too much clicking, too much moving here. Let's move on to CPE. Oh my God, these shoulder head shoulders, guys. This is where this is the American dream here. Shoulder, a double-headed guy, and then another shoulder. Reverse head and shoulders. It's inverted, obviously. The projected move. You know what? Let's do this. Let's project something here. Got to click before I move. All right, let's throw this thing. Let's throw this thing up here. So I got to grab it. Why are you? Oh, is it the logarithmic shrink? That's the log shrink there, boys. That's what happens when you try doing it on a cold day. It's called the log shrink. $112 is what I've got by moving it in that fashion into the logarithmic deal there. 113 is what I'm seeing for a projected move. Looking at recaf. Actually, let's go to CPE. Let's look at let's do 1 month. We kind of broke down here, almost like a V bottom, and we're shooting back on up. That's what it looks like. We got support through here. Good support. Let's see if this thing can move. Looking at recaf. Recaf, it loves this like $5 and 2 and 3 and 5 cent range in here. It's been bouncing everywhere on this thing. Irrespective, 1, 2, 3 break, 1, 2, 3 on the short-term pullback. Another descending wedge pullback. The projected moves up to about $10. There it is, 1, 2, 3, break into the upside, descending wedge pattern. We should see a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 inside of it. We break, we spilled out, we're moving sideways. We're waiting for some data being released early December. That's what's going to propel this thing forward. The 2D seismic data. And that's what I'm invested for. They've already hit 2 wells. Oil flowing, could be a gigantic deposit or reserve, or however you want to call it. I think they got the oil. I think this is going to rocket higher. That's my opinion. Northern Oil and Gas, big picture view, because I like looking at this. Humongous big picture view. We're just up on the right side. This thing could move vastly higher on this big old, the projected move would be to the top of this big old pattern here. Looking at the short term, this is a continuation pattern usually. It's slightly downward slanting. If it was upward slanting, it would be a case to move to the downside, but since it's downward slanting, they had to use the SPR release to break this thing lower. I bought it down here, and I'm hopefully going to ride this thing as high as we can go. So I know NOG looks good. Here is Contango Oil and Gas. Backing out. Is this thing going to put in another shoulder and then a launch? Potentially. The reverse head and shoulders is this big shoulder, head, shoulder that we're putting up. The neckline would be kind of downward slanting a little bit, kind of like that. If I can draw it, and maybe it's not a reverse head and shoulders. Might not be a reverse head and shoulders, guys. But either way, hopefully this thing can move on up in the near term. And it looks like we have a downtrend line that is broken here, as far as I can tell. So it looks pretty good. CPG, now this one does have a shoulder, head, shoulder developing. Let's throw the trend line, the neckline in, looking fantastic. There's the big old head and shoulders pattern. We had a descending wedge, which usually breaks to the upside. They tried pushing it lower. Push it real good. And they didn't push it real good. They pushed it with a little 50 million barrel release. That's a premature lubrication, and we're moving on up. This looks good to move on up, guys. CPG is looking strong. GTE, Grand Tierra, we are still chilling below the pattern here. Here's the descending wedge. We broke up, create another pattern, kind of a flag. We broke down a little bit. Maybe we come back and do a little return move, and then we move on up. That's GTE. Tellurian. Man, it's in the pattern, guys. It's in the pattern. 1, 2, 3 is one of these little guys over here. and we're looking for a move to the upside. Hopefully it can break, move to the upside here shortly. CRK. I drew this pattern in thinking that it's maybe a 1, 2, maybe like a 1, 2, a 1, 2, and then maybe a third, and then we break. But that's CRK there, creating this pattern that is developing. SD, kind of a little bit of an upward slant here, maybe not. You could maybe draw this sideways as well. Difficult to say. 1, 2, 3. We're kind of losing our, coming off the rails a little bit. We're right at support. Let's see if we can move on up. I don't see why it wouldn't be moving on up. Oil and natural gas should be strong coming up here. Moving on back, Tetra Technologies, 1, 2, 3. Breakout to the downside for the capitulation move. All-time buying right here of a lifetime. Coming back up, we're back in the pattern. And we are breaking down trends. There's one pattern there. We'll see what happens here. Let's break. Looking at rig. Downtrend line broken. Coming on up. Go rig. 1 year. Looks like we got a massive shoulder head shoulder that has developed. There it is. Shoulder head shoulder. And we're going to break this and be in the money. Hopefully. So that's what I've got for today. That is oil and natural gas. Looking quite good. I think this is going to be stick saved. They tried the SPR release, try to push this stuff lower. I don't think it's going to work. I think we're going to head up on higher. Let's see. Hopefully we keep the momentum up the next couple of days and kind of break through these patterns, and then we're off to the races. Some of these have gigantic reverse or inverted head and shoulders. We break these necklines and we get moving. You can see some really big moves. Big moves. Easily double, triple in price, maybe even more. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens over this next year. I think we're going to see some big moves. If you guys like this analysis, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.